Now it's time for us to take a closer look, and we're going to take a closer look at some innovations from Commvault. Their data rooms let data scientist teams quickly access and prepare backup data. Hmm. While using an AI-powered interface that simplifies querying and managing this backup data for AI purposes. Using data that's already been classified as it was ingested into the backup system, teams can reduce the manual preparation and apply role-based access control and sensitivity tags and share data securely. The tool aims to speed up AI model training by letting the IT team, who are already managing the data, managing some of the management tasks of that data. Managing management? And freeing up data scientists to focus on the analytics rather than the data preparation side. Jim, you're
Right.
very much in the working with data, doing good things with data. Would you like to be able to use the backup data repositories rather than the primary repositories for this?
I I think it's a fascinating idea. I wonder why no one has thought of this before, right? If you have a database, you better be backing it up, right? And you better be also, by the way, testing your backups, but that's another topic for another day. The key thing is, I'm surprised that it's actually quite brilliant because you're going to have to scan through that data, right? Depending on the type of backup you're taking. But generally, a lot of shops, if they have um, structured data, especially, right? Um, you're going to be taking a full backup or some sort of, level zero, incremental level zero backup once a week anyway. You're going to touch those blocks, right? So you might as well go ahead and capture that. And if you're backing up object or file, again, similar concepts but different. So you're going to touch the data anyway. One of the things that I still see organizations kind of struggling with is, well, how do we get value out of our structured data? There's metadata buried in there. We've got tables, we've got columns. Hopefully, everything's described in some sort of master data catalog, right? Uh, Guess where that's usually stored? Yeah, inside the database itself. You're backing it up. Why not take advantage of the bandwidth that you're going to expel, your network bandwidth and everything else, uh, to do that backup, right? So this is a fascinating idea. Again, like I said, I'm really surprised no one's thought of it before. It would be interesting to see just how well this works and what they're able to capture in terms of, especially, I'm thinking the metadata more than anything else. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think there's an element here of building a data catalog, and often we would see the data catalog being built in a data lake along with a read-only repository of that data. And so we would often see this being another reason to make another copy of our production data in some location where we're going to maybe, taking the classic cloud methodology, we're going to dump this into a whole bunch of object storage. We're going to have something crawl over that object storage, an updated database with metadata every time we ingest new data. Well, I've already got a place where I'm storing a copy, a read-only copy of all of this data, and that I also have version history over time because the backup system does this data protection on a regular basis. So this is absolutely a continuation of the discussion that these data protection companies need or are moving beyond simple backup, moving towards trying to extract as much value as possible out of the data that resides in this backup repository, that it's not just insurance, but it's actually usable data that we can then, in this case, expose through a model context protocol to allow easy consumption of that data in an AI application. Does then bring to mind that now my backup repository contains some primary data, not just protection copies, because of course, as soon as I'm grabbing that metadata, if that's stored inside my backup repository, how am I protecting that? Whereas my second and third copies and one of them off-site, is that metadata actually being stored out somewhere else? Hopefully the metadata is being stored separately from the backup repository on a database server that I can then protect into that backup repository. Yeah, let's not get into a looping of our data as we're protecting it and then scanning the protection of our metadata about our protection. Somebody slightly smarter than me has probably designed this, and so they've avoided that kind of looping problem. But Absolutely. I love when we see more value being delivered from the data that we are storing. One of the challenges here will be making sure that the backup system's performance suits the requirements of the application that will be consuming data from it. It may well be that we'll see caching capabilities that layer on top of this that allow the actual AI application to be working with a high-speed copy of a subset of the data, whilst the majority of the data stays on a lower cost tier within the storage system. Lots of implementation details that will be fascinating to look at. And of course, Tech Field Day will be at Commvault Shift in a couple of weeks, and I imagine we'll be hearing some more about that.